So let's take a look at even more incredible legendary weapons you can really miss out in Baldur's Gate 3. We have even more unique effects, powerful damage boosts, and insane mechanics to look at. Obviously, a big spoiler warning ahead because many of these are acquired through very specific means, though I'm going to try to keep the spoilers at a bare minimum. The first weapon is actually one of the possible legendaries given to you through a special mission for Shadowheart. It's called the Shar's Spear of Evening, and this is insanely good for characters that want to play stealthy, permanently blind enemies, and get powerful necrotic boons. So to get this, you need to follow the story in Act 2 until you reach the Temple of Shar and complete the 3 shadow puzzles for Shadowheart. But you'll also need the Spear of Night rare variant before proceeding to turn this into a legendary. So for this, we'll need to head over to the Silent Library on the bottom floor of the temple because there's going to be a secret chamber to unlock inside. But to get that opened, we're gonna have to take the teachings of Loss, the Night Singer, from one of these first couple of bookshelves onto the right side. Once done, bring this to the Riddle of the Night puzzle further down in the library, and this is going to let you open up the secret area ahead. And inside you will find the Spear of Night as well as the Dark Justiciar armor set that you can grab right away. And from this point on, you can just continue with the story further down into the temple until you reach back inside of the relic. I will not spoil what happens here, but let's just say you can either choose a good or an evil conclusion, either of which provides a different legendary. However, picking the evil option here provides the Shar's Spear of Evening, which in my opinion is much stronger. So this gives you the Shar's Blessing. You can gain advantage on saving throws while lightly or heavily obscured. This weapon also deals an additional bonus damage to creatures that are lightly or heavily obscured. But it just so happens this synergizes perfectly with that darkness ability you get on the weapon, which creates a large dark circle that heavily obscures everything inside and even blinds all creatures in it. However, the wielder of the spear cannot be blinded, but does get all the other benefits, including the extra damage. Now this works really well on pretty much any melee class. It doesn't have to be just Shadowheart or a rogue. A fighter can work just as well, maybe even better, due to the multiple hits per turn. You also get Edge of Darkness as a proficiency unlock that further unleashes a cloud of darkness similar to that one, but it's just of a smaller size, and also provides some extra necrotic damage on top. The synergy here is really insane with the Dark Justiciar set that you got, since you also get better chances at critical hits from the helmet, advantage on stealth checks, even extra necrotic damage, and the powerful darkness curse from the other pieces. You can also place the Beckoning Darkness as a first move, which makes enemies take necrotic damage at the start of the turn, and if it's also obscured in any way, which is going to be all the time. So I really like the playstyle that this set provides. Now if you choose the good ending, you're going to get, instead of this, the Selune's Spear of Night, which is more aimed towards cleric / kind of like buff playstyle, but it does have an interesting damage component. So you also gain the Moonbeam attack, a level 3 evocation spell that casts down a beam of light that deals continuous radiant damage for 10 turns in the affected spot. However, you might want to hold the person or a monster inside of that area, or provide other sources to immobilize it to keep it in place while the damage is in effect. Plus, you also gain advantage on wisdom saving throws and on perception checks, which can be very helpful during exploration. But the next item is Nyrulna. This is a legendary trident with a few very powerful effects to turn your melee character into an almost ranged one as well. So this has the Zephyr's connection. When you throw the trident, it causes a thunder damage explosion in a 6-meter area around the main target, and it also auto returns to your hand right after. In fact, you don't even have to fear losing or retrieving this, nor can you be forced to drop it, as it provides you immunity against disarm abilities. There are a few more skills that you get from the trident, including an extra movement speed and jump distance, plus complete immunity to fall damage. It also has an auto light toggle so that you can better see enemies in dark areas, and the following two very cool abilities. One is called Zephyr's Flash. This lets you dash forward, creating an air vortex that blasts enemies and possibly even inflicts bleeding. And then you have Zephyr's Break. You cast a gust of wind in a line that sends enemies back and inflicts the off-balance debuff. Now to get this, you need to win Akabi's first prize in the Circus of the Last as soon as you reach that part of the city of Baldur's Gate. However, you can only win that if you steal a special genie ring from him that provides you the only way to guarantee get the best possible spinning wheel roll. So simply use invisibility and try passing the sleight of hands check once you steal that item, and then spin his wheel once again to ensure your win. Now something will happen after this which will transport you to a secret jungle area. Now you might want to sneak around here to avoid any trouble. However, once you make your way at the end, before going through the portal, make sure that you also grab the legendary from inside of this chest right here. Though you will need some lockpicks, so make sure that you have a few ready. Moving on to number 3, we have a pair of gloves called the Gloves of the Soul Catching, and despite being an armor piece, this is a great way to gain some extra damage when using unarmed combat such as shapeshift druids or monks. Plus, once per turn, it also lets you regain 10 HP when using unarmed hits or gain an advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the end of the next turn. And it also adds +2 constitution up to a max of 20, so a really great legendary piece to have. Now to get this, you need to also save Hope before leaving the House of Hope, the same one where we got the Orphic legendary Warhammer as well as the legendary Helldusk armor. So if you want to see how to get those, check the video that I posted before this. But before the final encounter, you can take an adjacent path by following Hope in order to rescue her real body down in the prison area. You will need to defeat a number of enemies inside over here and then destroy the binding crystals on each side using the Orphic hammer to get her out. She's also going to become your ally in combat and will make things easier from this point on, so she is a powerful paladin slash cleric to have. But once you can make your way out of House of Hope, she's also going to give you this awesome reward right here. So this is going to now turn your attacks to deal extra 1 to 10 bludgeoning damage on top of everything else they deal. So it's going to be great on druids that use the shapeshift spell, or even more so on something like the monks that also use unarmed combat very often. Plus the extra heal will keep you alive for way longer since it can stack up quite a bit on each turn. But while you're still in Baldur's Gate, the next legendary is called the Markoheshkir Staff. I think I pronounced that wrong, but just like bear with me. And you also get the free robe of the weave on top from the same area. So that area is going to be this secret middle section inside of the Sorcerer's Sundries in the lower city. Here you can meet Roland again as well as his master by taking the left portal upstairs. So once you reach that area upstairs, there's a bunch of stuff happening there too, but simply make your way to the lower level below using one of these outside balconies. Either of these could work, just use either Featherfall, Fly or other similar sources to reach that second place below. From here, simply go inside, however be careful because there's going to be some traps here. Your goal is to reach the weave button towards the northern part of the building and then use the teleport function to head over to this kind of like middle ring inside of it with the 2 protected barriers. Now once here, there are 2 routes to deactivate the barriers and get the items inside. Either use See Invisibility, which is going to reveal a hidden lever that you can activate to turn down these shields, or just use lightning damage and take the dice roll to destroy the barriers inside. In this case, it can be anything like lightning strike, even witch bolt, or even lightning arrows. All of these can work just fine. Now the staff is clearly aimed towards sorcerers, but it can also work on wizards and warlocks just as well. It gives you bonus to spell attack rolls and saves, but you also gain arcane battery, which is going to let you spell cast without consuming a spell slot, but you will have to manually activate this when you use it, kind of like the meta magic for the sorcerers. And you also gain Kreska's favor. This is similar to the dragon deity buffs, so you gain a buff to a certain type of spell damage like fire, lightning, ice and so on, and also resistance to that type at the same time. This will however make the staff glow, not your character, which I think is a nice attention to detail. But otherwise, it's very useful for not having to waste 1 spell slot, which can be incredible as we already saw how strong sorcerers really are, for example. Plus the robe is a pretty decent one to have, providing even more bonus to spell attack rolls, and whenever you succeed a saving throw against the spell, you gain some extra hit points. And there's also a +2 to the armor class, so actually this is better than just pretty decent. It's actually a really good one to have on spellcasters. And this brings us to number 5, to probably the strongest melee weapon in the entire game, and it's called the Balduran's Giantslayer. It's freaking insane how strong this is, possibly one of the highest damage rolls of all the weapons I've seen up until now. It also comes with the Giantslayer passive, which on hit, it doubles the damage from your strength modifier. And not just that, it also grants advantage on attack rolls against large, huge or gargantuan enemies. However, these buffs are two separate components, so one of them is the double modifier and the other one is the advantage against large. However, the strength modifier applies against all enemies, as we can see from the tooltip. So whatever you attack with this sword, it's going to always get an extra bonus damage on top. So with this, you're going to absolutely destroy everything with a paladin, but there's one more thing that makes this even more insane, and that is the giant form action. So this lets you grow in size, it provides an additional bonus damage, 27 more hit points, and advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws for 10 whole turns. So this is absolutely crazy, but to get it, it's a bit more complicated. So you will need to actually head over to the secret dragon passage below Worm's Rock Fortress, which is going to have you head over right here into the prison area. This is going to also be filled with some enemies that you might need to avoid or defeat, but the hidden entrance is going to be to the left side of the prison between the two dragon head torches. However, to activate these two, you will need to use a source of electricity. So again, Witch Bolt, Lightning Strike, even Lightning Arrows can turn the fire into the color blue, which instead is also going to open up the secret area and passage ahead. Now further down the line, you're going to get into this place with 4 statues that need to be activated so that you can open the locked door ahead of you. So each one of these will correspond to a room with a bunch of challenges that you need to pass. So the first one is the Chamber of Justice to the far left. This is going to provide you with 3 paintings that depict different scenes. However, you will need to use something like Remove Curse to see what they show. The short version here is that you will need to place the first one on the pedestal onto the other side to finish the puzzle here. On the right side of the main gate, we have the Chamber of Strategy. Now this is just a simple chess match that you need to cause a checkmate in just 2 or 3 turns max. I believe the chessboard will be different for each player, or at the very least there are at least a few variations, but beating it should not be hard, and this is going to finish the second challenge. Then there's the Chamber of Courage. This is just a simple 4-turn fight against a bunch of enemies, so if you survive this, you can just move on to the next. The final 4th one is accessed via the invisible bridge onto the left side of the major locked door. There are some clues here that will advise you which advisor to pick, but basically just take down the one onto the far left and you should be done with all of them. Once you're done, you can progress through the major door. However, there's not going to be any spoilers in this video any longer. Just go ahead. There's going to be some really major cool stuff happening ahead, but at the end of it, you're going to get the awesome Greatsword. You're also going to get the Balduran's helmet at the opposite side of the last room, so make sure you also pick that up. This is going to give you a small heal on every turn, a +1 to AC and saving throws, and also gives you stun immunity and immunity to critical hits. Plus it's legendary and it looks really awesome. Now there's a 6th bonus free legendary that I wanted to mention, and this is actually something that you can otherwise completely miss out on. So this is called Devotee's Mace, and only clerics can get it, but you have to pick a very specific spell choice. So at about level 10, I believe, you should get Divine Intervention, which lets you call upon your deity to choose between a handful of powerful effects. So it could be a full party-wide heal and long rest. Another can provide a massive AoE cataclysm damage, some camp supplies. However, you will want to pick Arm Thy Servant, because this is going to call your deity to give you a legendary weapon forged in the fires of your holy bond. Now that holy bond is probably not that strong, because all you get is a healing aura for 10 turns that only heals for about 1 to 4 HP for the affected targets, but I mean that's between 10 to 40 healing for each of your party mates if you affect all of them, so maybe it's not that bad. However, there are much stronger options that you can pick between, or you can at the very least just add this to your collection. Anyway, this is pretty much it for now. In the meantime, I recommend checking out some of my other videos, including this one in which I broken down some of the best feats to get, or a full-on guide on how to choose your starting race if you want to like mix and match and maximize your potential with these items that I just showed you. Thanks so much for watching, and until the next one.